in the live stream, doing the stuff and the things in the live stream, having terrible hair in the
In the
live
live
stream,
stream.
but it's okay in the live stream because it's a live stream. In the live stream, talking about the stuffs and the things and the stuffs and the things and the theisms and the atheisms and the gods and the not God. And is there a God? Is there not a God? Who really knows, honestly? Is Drew secretly a theist? Who really knows? Who's to say? Uh, this is absolutely something, even if I was a theist. Not many people are going to watch this part because nobody's here on the live yet. Not many people watch through it, but it would absolutely be something I would do if I was a theist. Just come here and like act the part of an atheist just to try to like hone theist skills to get them to be better at defending the God stance or their faith or whatever. Absolutely something I would do if I was secretly a Christian, which I'm not, of course, obviously. I'm not secretly a theist or a Christian, unless I am. But it's entirely possible I'd be doing the exact same thing I'm doing now, even if I was a Christian. So you just never know. You just never know. Except you do, because I'm not that deep. So you probably all tell that I'm an atheist, which is fine. Is what it is. Without there being God, how did the universe get here? Why is there something instead of nothing? How did life come from non-life? How... I mean, look at the trees. I use the look at the trees argument more than I hear it from theists or whatever. And I usually hear the look at the trees argument from atheists making fun of theists more than I hear it from theists. But it is kind of valid. You know, look at the trees. Yeah, I see the trees. What is that? You know, why... How did tree get here? How did tree get like that? How did things get so complex? How did all of the... I'm looking at the sky, I'm looking at the clouds, I'm looking at the mountains, the oceans, the diversity of life. I'm looking at it all, and it's just like, I can completely understand, you know, this whole, like, look at the trees, there must be a God. I can absolutely understand it. But that's not evidence. That's not reason to believe in a God just because, oh my gosh, it's all so wonderful and crazy. How could it not be? It's not just because you don't understand how something works or how something came to be, doesn't mean it has to have been some kind of supernatural something or a God or whatever else have you. Could just be something that we don't currently understand. Could be something that we'll never understand. Could be something that we'll understand in a year or 100 years, or you know, that our descendants, I was going to say ancestors, wrong direction, descendants will figure out, you know, years from now. You know, you never really know. You never really know. And I think that's interesting. I think that's good to keep asking those questions and keep looking for stuff. I don't think it's good to just be like, yeah, God did it, and then like we're done. You know, like even if God did it, evolution is still a thing. Big Bang was still a thing. You know, laws of physics and whatnot are still a thing. And these are, the way I look at it is like a video game. There are people called speedrunners that will go through and perfect the game and find every little glitch, every single, you know, wall that isn't fully formed, every single flaw in the game, and they will exploit that to finish the game as fast as possible. And game developers, a lot of them, I'm not going to speak for all of them, but a lot of them love speedrunners because nobody else takes the time to play and replay their game and find all those little things. Like speedrunners, most people will play their game once and be done with it, but speedrunners will go in and actually investigate and find every single little thing, even sometimes things that the developers didn't know that they missed. You know, like, oh my gosh, you can just walk through that small corner of the wall if you know, do a backstand hand flip, whatever, and look towards the ceiling. You can just clip through that wall. That's insane, you know? And I feel like if there is a God, he would have a similar mindset. of like, he made all of this. And you're just going to be like, yeah, God did it. I don't know. You're just like, fucking did it or something. You don't want to learn about the physics and about evolution and abiogenesis and Big Bang and all like the amazing, super cool stuff that's super cool whether a God did it or not. But if you firmly believe that a God did it, you want to learn about all. He put. Well, he would be an all-powerful infinite being, so saying that he put in the time and effort, it was kind of like nothing to God. Well, I mean, it took him like 7 days, like according to the Bible. It took him some time, but like, you should appreciate you should appreciate the time that this God being put in and actually try to learn about the universe. Have a blessed night. Thank you. Get that fruit roll up. You should glue that puzzle. Yeah, that's true. But we should try to understand the world around us regardless. I think it's so lazy when we just, and I call it the God sticker. It's like, yeah, God did it. And a lot of that God sticker is just like, even if you can prove evolution, all that stuff, just God sticker. But also, sometimes people will slap it on before they even try to do the investigating. Like I said, how did everything get here? God did it. Okay, like we're gonna ignore, like, especially I see a lot of theists who, understand this, who will look at the intricacies of life, and the intricacies of the universe, it's a hard word, and use that as evidence for a designer. Complexity being the hallmark of a designer, even though it's not. But, a lot of people will use it like that. There's so many people who are just willing to be like, yeah, God did it, and don't want to learn about science. Don't want to learn about physics, evolution, any of that stuff, biology, any of the stuff that supposedly God did, in fact, put in place. They're just like, nah, don't care. It's like, I don't know, mom and dad pay the bills for me. I just kind of like turn the lights on and like they come on. Like, I don't really care about all the work that they have to put in to pay those bills. Like, I feel like it'd be almost disrespectful. God spoke into existence, let there be light, manifestation. Right. And like, I don't feel like we should end it there. It's disrespectful to the work and to the creativity and the majesty of any kind of God being, if the universe and the world was created by a God being, to just not care about it. My approach to understanding the world is to try to view things from the perspective of the experts. How do they think and what do they focus on in their field? From there, you fill in the gaps and make the connection between everything yourself through meditation and thought. That's a way to do it. And it's at least taking the time to go that speed run method of learning the game even better than the developers knew it, to find the best way. It's not a perfect analogy because obviously if you're studying life, you're not necessarily trying to speed run through it, but taking that time to really love and understand things is great. Evening Drew, how is the new schedule? I love it. I'm a little bit more tired. My schedule's a little bit more packed, especially because my schedule outside of streaming changed so that my streaming schedule could change, and that outside of streaming schedule is 8 a.m. It's 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. I'm doing stuff with like a couple hour break in between and working and stuff, and then I get the rest of my night to like not do anything. And 3 out of those 7 nights, I'm here doing live streams. So it's, it definitely packs out my schedule. It's definitely a lot, but I love it. I love doing these live streams. I've always said I want to do more of these live streams, just because I enjoy it. And the fact that I can now do more of them is great. And it also just helps with, I get subscribers a lot of the times when I do these live streams, and I get views, which helps me get closer and closer towards monetization one day. But love the dedication, good for you, doing what I can. I'm tired. It helps my channel grow, It helps me do the thing that I like to do. So it's worth it, you know? So I do like the new schedule. I hope you guys are liking the new schedule. I hope you guys are liking seeing me be live more often, having more opportunities than just one night a week, if that, because, you know, sometimes I was canceling that one night. So just having multiple opportunities for people to stop by and interact, share their thoughts and whatnot. Getting a new audience of people. Not everybody is free on a Tuesday night, but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night might be able to get more people to find time. I've not adjusted to the new times yet. You haven't adjusted to the new times yet? That's all right. We'll get there. We'll get there. And you're under no obligation to be here. It's all right. But yeah, I have enjoyed it. I'm tired. But overall, you know, got this new schedule going. And it's pretty great. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. But yeah. And understanding the universe around us is great, whether you believe in a God or not. But I also want to point out the fallacies of God of the gaps and personal incredulity. Just because you don't understand how something works doesn't mean it necessarily has to have been a God. So yes, we look at the wonder of the universe. How could it have possibly come into being without a God? Y'all, I don't have the answer to that question, but that does not mean it has to have been a God. That's not how any of this works. Whenever these streams are on, they tend to be one of the best parts of my day. I'm happy to give that to you. I hope that your life is a little bit more exciting to where my streams aren't the best part of your day. I don't feel like my streams are that great, but that's just kind of like my self down talk. But no, that's awesome. If people are looking forward to these streams, and I have regulars like you, Doom, who pop into these streams on a regular basis. It's one of the best parts. Don't get cocky now. All right. But no, it's nice because I get people hopping on, reoccurring viewers, atheist and theist, which is my favorite thing. Because obviously I'm going to get atheists, you know, people following, and that's great. I love the atheist people. When I get a theist, Christian, Muslim, you know, pagan, you know, whatever, following me and consistently following me and showing up for their lives, even though they disagree with me, I love that because I like creating that atmosphere of, hey, we're sitting down at the same table and talking about this stuff. And the fact that I have theists who are comfortable coming in on a regular basis and fighting, you know, in the chat. Fighting might be a strong word, but, you know, things can get heated. But coming and sharing their ideas, discussing things, having a new perspective. Because if it's just me in a room full of atheists, then it's just, yes, absolutely, yes, I don't believe in God, yes. I mean, obviously we have different ideas and whatnot, but you get more diversity, the more diversity you get, you know. I'm having an experience of Kundalini awakening and spontaneously speaking in languages I don't understand 3 times. That sounds very interesting. Getting theist subscribers and viewers is legitimately super impressive now that you mention it, and knowing all that I know about how religious debates tend to go. Yeah, I just kind of try not to like be like that, you know, how all those religious debates and whatnot often go. You know, those we see them, and the theists do the same thing. The theists and the atheists do the same thing. You know, just you see how many atheist content creators do you see who have a thumbnail? It's like, this stupid, delusional Christian thinks. I'm just not like that, you know? I don't really think we need to shit on each other that much. You know, we can shit on each other's ideas, maybe, you know? Especially, like a couple streams ago, I had a guy who was like victim blaming great victims, essentially. Yeah, you know, I'm going to have a bit of a heated response. I'm going to have a bit of a fuck you response to that. But overall, just coming in and sharing ideas. You are correct about that. I like hearing the diverse atheist voices as well. It's all good. Yeah, you're the change you want to see in the world. Yeah, I'm trying to be. You gotta try to be the change that you want to see in the world. Take everybody, good luck with your channel. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I want there to be a world where even if we disagree, we can still get along and sit down at the same table and talk about it and interact. Even in my personal life, I was raised Christian. So the vast majority of the people that I've ever known, my friends and family, were also raised Christian. And the vast majority of them, not all of them, but the vast majority of them are still Christian. And I will still go and get along with them just the same. I have a really Christian family member who recommends Christian books to me. And I love reading Christian books and getting Christian books. Now, she might be doing it, with the hope that I'll convert someday or whatever, if I'm not already secretly a Christian. But it's still just nice, having that little, like, common ground, So at the end of the stream or start or in the middle? At the beginning, about 15 minutes in. Yeah, basically the start. Pretty slow stream, but I got some of my regulars in here chatting, so it's always good to see you guys. It's always good to see the reoccurring people. Like getting the randos in here. I shouldn't call them randos, it's probably mean, but getting the random people, for lack of a better word, in here to like get the chat going and conversations, all that stuff is great. But knowing that I have people who will continually come back and watch the videos is like also super great. Technically 16 minutes now, you're wrong, Drew. God has been proven to exist. Is that what it takes to prove God exists? Proving me wrong? If that's what it takes, hey, I've got news for you. God is real. God is alive and well. If proving me wrong is all it takes, I can tell you, he is alive and well. We have crossed that line. We've left that line miles and miles and miles and miles in the dust. I don't know who Scott Adams is, and I haven't heard about his conversion. Would you mind telling me a couple things about it? I can give you my thoughts just kind of based on what you tell me. I'm just not familiar with who that is. I still love that video where somebody tried to speed run logical fallacies in an argument with his girlfriend. Yeah. He is the cartoonist of Dilbert, the comic strip. Hey, don't shoot me. I don't know what Dilbert is. I'm way out of the loop on this one. But no, people's stories, be it conversion or deconversion stories, are always interesting to me. It's people's journey stories, their life journey, what has happened in life, where that has taken them, where they are now, how they have grown as a person. Because a lot of the times when you hear these stories, whether it's an atheist going to theist or a theist going to atheist, a part of the story is genuine human growth of that person, and I think that's great. Like, whenever somebody comes into my streams and starts saying, oh, or like in my comment section, and they say, I was saved by Jesus. I was a drug addict. I was about to take my life, all this stuff. And I found Jesus, and now, like, I'm clean, and I got a good life, and, I got a wife and a family and all this stuff. I don't really, like, say anything to that. Because, like, I do argue on the atheist side of things. I will argue against theism. But, like, hey, Drew, I have this thing that's, like, improved my life greatly and, like, taken me from, like, 0 to 100. I'm not going to be like, that's dumb. Which, I mean, that's not how I talk anyway. But, I'm not going to try to shit on that in any way, shape, or form. You are killing me. Dilbert was very popular back in the day. He is an engineer at some business. His tie points up a lot of business jokes. His boss has pointed hair. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Let me look him up. Dilbert. Dilbert. Oh! Oh, that dude. I mean, I've seen him. I haven't seen much of his comics or anything. It doesn't really get us that far. But like, I at least like I recognize the. Yeah, no, I think I've seen a couple of these actually. Yeah, but overall, yeah, I don't really know too much. I'm kind of in a similar position. A friend recently converted to Christianity, but I've kind of just remained silent because it's like a major thing keeping him going. Yeah. You know? He has a funny talking dog. Coworkers like the topper. Nice. But yeah, I mean, that's how I am. I have a buddy who is always inviting my wife and I over, and people from all walks of life over. I haven't been able to be over at his house for a while because, my schedule now is more packed, but I also have more control over it. It's only packed because I want it to be packed and because I'm, doing the most work. It was a lot less, I had no control over it before. With how things were. So hopefully I can start getting to some of his parties and hanging out with him. Because he's a Christian and he will just invite, we'll all go over and play video games, talk about the weather, or whatever other dumb thing that, we talk about. And it doesn't even need to be a thing. The religious aspect doesn't even need to be a thing. You can come together with people that you disagree with and still have a good time with them. Sorry, the cat wanted out. I've seen a couple. Oh, have you seen a couple of one of the most popular comic strips in the entire world? You're so hip. Shut up. I don't watch a lot of oh God, I probably just dated myself there. I don't read, view, peruse a whole lot of comics. I want to give him reasons to keep moving forward beyond God, like faith in himself, but I'm not so sure that's a good idea for where he's at in his life. I just hope he doesn't go down the road of anti-LGBTQ plus stuff. Yeah, and that's where it becomes an issue. That's where religion, where there has to be a little bit more disagreement and something done about the disagreement and conversations had about the disagreement when, you're going after people's rights and stuff. You're attacking people. You're, being openly disrespectful towards people. But like, if you have people in your life who, they believe in God and they're doing their thing and they know you don't and you're doing your thing and it's all good, then that's all good. But yeah, I mean, at this present time, I would say, probably just kind of let him go on his path, especially if it's helping him out. I wouldn't stop it. Anyway, he had cancer. He wanted experimental therapy and asked Trump to intervene. Interesting. Oh, correction for above. I mean, not sure that's a good idea in the sense that I don't know if I can give reasons that replace God. Sometimes that's hard to do when you're looking for motivation and reason and, the greater picture. Sometimes it's hard to get some of that without a God, especially for someone who's looking for something more. Because obviously we can say, we find reason in ourselves. You can do it for yourself, the people you love, all this stuff. And those are great, but for some people, they do need a little bit more. Considering the whole friend group that he's a part of is LGBTQ plus friendly allies, I find it unlikely, but still, hopefully. And dark turns like that can happen, and they do, where like super chill dude, and then he either became an atheist or became a theist or, whatever, and all of a sudden he's just an ass. That does happen, but, hopefully not with him. He died on Tuesday. Oh, he died. Well, that's fun. Not exactly where I expected the story to go. One of those articles I skimmed through probably said that, honestly. fun. It just took me off guard. I mean, it's not fun, obviously. It's just like, oh. Because, like, we're talking about, like, his conversion story. He was like, oh, well, he had cancer. So I'm like, oh, like, did God heal his cancer? And the guy's like, he died. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not trying to shit on the thing. You know, I'm letting him roll. It's just like, oh, you know, my bad. I didn't, you know, I assumed the story was going in one direction. And then, like, you know, he's dead. But, you know, yeah, no. Sorry. Keep going, Mark. I would love to hear about his conversion story and stuff. I might be an asshole. Forgive me. I mean, I hope if some of you have been with me for a while, like Doom, you've been with me from almost the beginning. I hope you can, like, understand that sometimes I'd be like that. What do you have? What is that? Ah, that's what I thought it was, but I just don't usually see you with Cheerios. Cheerios. I know that my life got 1,000 times better becoming an atheist and letting go of a lot of those religious ideas. I still want to try to hang on to, like, there being some kind of higher power out there, or like an afterlife, or some kind of spiritual something. And I've been completely transparent about that. I think from the beginning, I would love for there to be something like that. But like overall, my deconversion, personally, my deconversion has been my part of my progress in growing as a person and bettering as a person. Personally. And I mean, sometimes it might just be, and I'm not like a professional life coach or anything, so you can take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not a professional anything. Except for a professional yapper. I am a professional yapper, not to brag. Maybe sometimes it is just that major life change, that major perspective shift that kind of re-rails someone and gets them on track to become better, regardless of if they're going more towards atheism or theism. And maybe that's just a part of it. I don't know. But for me, definitely my deconstruction was a big step in me just growing as a person and improving. So yeah, it's nice. I think a great way of coping with the seeming absence of anything magical is to remind ourselves that our existence, no matter how it came to be, is inherently magical in some sense. It's pretty cool, you know? Like, with or without a god, I'm overall enjoying the experience of life. You know, it has been great, but I think at this time I would prefer it to not existing. It wasn't always like that, you know. There's a lot of times, especially when I was younger, where, you know, I probably would have preferred dying, but you know, these days I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm all right. When a newborn comes into the world is so alien and crazy, but we get desensitized and used to it. But no, our world is just that weird. The color red, what is that? That's what I was saying earlier. Like, I think I use look at the trees more than I see theists use them. And I usually see atheists using that phrase to make fun of theists more than I see theists actually trying to use them. But, like, for real, look at the trees. How did things get here? Like, I completely agree, Doom. We get desensitized, and I think it's worth taking a step back and, like, really looking like, that's a tree. Okay, but, like, let's talk about that. That thing's weird. How did it get here? Why does it look like that? How does it do the things that it does? You know, like, it's very bizarre. Here are the parts of what Scott wrote. Here are parts of what Scott wrote. A final message from Scott Adams. If you're reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things to say before I go. My body failed before my brain. Already off to a great start. Damn. I'm glad he could at least get a final message out. I have a feeling you're about to, like, drop something, like, super heavy and awesome, and I'm so ready for it.
Anytime anyone starts talking about becoming desensitized to stuff, I just think of our child.
You think of our child? my child has become desensitized to a lot of my nonsense. It's pretty great. Even when she was a baby, like I would like be feeding her a bottle, and like she needs to eat this bottle because like she needs to eat, but like she's falling asleep, and I would be like, baby, I'm not gonna say her name on stream even though I've done it before. I'm on accident. We're like, baby, like wake up, like you gotta finish your bottle, and like kind of shaking her, and then like eventually that stopped working, and so I had to get louder, and then eventually that stopped working, to the point where like she's dozing off while I'm feeding her the bottle, and I'm just like, baby, and like saying it loud, and she's just like unfazed. This was when she was like still with bottles, like less than 6 months old. Already just desensitized to my bullshit, just getting used to it. It's pretty funny.
Hilarious.
What do you mean our existence is governed by laws? Things that for some inexplicable reason are just immutable and immaterial. That's bonkers, that is. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I am not a believer, but I have to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so is attractive. So here I go. Hopefully we're not about to get into some Pascal's wager. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I look forward to spending eternity with him. The part about me not being a believer should be quickly resolved if I wake up in heaven. I won't need any more convincing than that. I hope I'm still qualified for entry. I hope he is too, if there's a God. I hope that works out for him. Yeah, and more than anything, whatever he was thinking, I just hope he found comfort in his final moments, because dying is kind of scary. Just like whatever, I will pray with somebody who is dying. I will say a prayer with somebody who is dying. If I I have never been in that position, but I whatever makes them more comfortable. Like I will talk somebody up about fuck. I've talked to people who have lost loved ones who are Christian and talk to them about like, he's with God and whatnot. I don't believe it. It doesn't fucking matter if I believe it. I'm not the one who needs comforted, Do you think Trump will invade Greenland? Fuck, I hope not. The trap with this kind of thinking, though, is you start looking for an answer rather than just appreciating how crazy the thing is itself. So you go from look at the trees to something did that. I think there needs to be a balance, There's definitely it's definitely good to ask questions and to probe in. Just like, how did the trees get here? That's how science works. But I absolutely agree that it can go too far. It's like, oh, a God must have done it. Well, we don't really know that. The other half is that it's a distraction from the Epstein files. Maybe. Definitely possible. His cabinet is probably in the process of taking him down. If they're taming an enormous infant, maybe. Okay, that is the pertinent part. Okay. I mean, it just kind of sounds a little Pascal's wagery, but like I said, whatever brought him peace before he went, I'm down. Because it doesn't fucking matter at that point. And I hope anyone watching this, if you are ever in the unfortunate situation, I don't care what you believe, if you are ever in the unfortunate situation where you have to comfort someone who's dying, I sincerely hope that you will talk them up about whatever they believe in, because it doesn't fucking matter. They're about to die. So like if you're an atheist, completely against Christianity and whatnot, I hope that you are by the bedside of a dying Christian praying with them and talking. I'm not qualified, but I'll read them his last rites. If they don't get that priest in there fast enough, fucking I'll do it. Because, this God should just kind of take that. We tried to get the priest in here, but, if nothing else, I hope that you can, I hope that can be a priority in your last minutes. Like, if I was at the bedside of that comic writer, I wouldn't be like, actually, that kind of sounds like Pascal's wager. And, Pascal's wager fails. It's like, nah, man, you're going to wake up and meet Jesus, I think. I would absolutely hop on board with that. Praying? Really? That's good for you, Drew. I would, because it's not about me in that moment. And it's not even about the rest of the world. It's like, this dude's not going to do anything else with the world. He's dying, Like nothing matters but keeping him comfortable at that moment in time. But I just wonder if you find the deathbed. But I just wonder if you find the deathbed. I'm worried about hell conversation to be a bit insincere. Oh yeah, a little bit. And like I said, it's definitely Pascal's wagery. And if you guys don't know my issues with Pascal's wager, I'd absolutely be happy to go through that. But yeah, no, absolutely. But I don't know. I mean, if there is a God, ultimately, it's not up to me. I hope it's enough to get him that sliding pass into heaven. I really do. If there's a God in a good place or whatever, I hope that's enough to get him in a good place. If you're beside someone who's an atheist, tell them, Jesus, tell them how they lived their life well. Yes, I think that's a good way to go if it's an atheist. It is very much Pascal's wager, but I think the people hear about it tends to be poorly conveyed. I think what people hear about it tends to be poorly conveyed. Okay, do you have a better pitch for Pascal's wager? As an ex-religious person, I'm more fascinated about the universe. I'm even more interested if the end is truly the end. Who knows? Yeah? The problem with Pascal's wager is there are thousands of different religions. You have automatically low chance of picking the right one. If you pick the wrong one, most religions have rules against people who believe in other gods, but less against non-believers. Yeah? And then there's the right version of the right God. It's like, oh, I'm Christian. Oh, yeah, what kind of Christian? Because there's thousands of different denominations and thousands of different people, more than that, within each denomination, each with varying different views of Christianity, what God is and what he wants. So you got to pick the right version of the right God. And then you got to just hope it works. Because belief isn't something you choose. So it's not just a matter of like, oh, I'll just believe it at the end. No, you're either convinced enough of something to warrant a belief or you're not. So I guess you can try to fake it if you make it. You can try to fake it until you make it, and fool the creator being of the universe, or just maybe get by on brownie points. I don't know. I don't know. You know, it doesn't seem right to me. It doesn't make sense. Pascal's wager only works if we assume there's only a handful of religions and it's heavily in favor of your particular religion. That's not the world we live in, yeah. Bad pitch for Pascal's wager. You should bet on God because you can gain everything if right and lose everything if wrong. Basically the dumbed down version of it. It's not the dumbed down, but like the watered down version of it. It's usually how it works for every other religion too, yeah. What stopped me believing in God was, even if God was real, why does that mean worship? God could end all suffering and make the world a great place, but chooses not to. If God is real, it's not good. Yeah, I mean, I take a slightly different approach on that, because like, you're the all-knowing, all-powerful being of the universe, and if you're all good, then you probably have a reason for allowing all these bad things to happen. I'm gonna need that reason, before I bow. Like if I ever die and I'm face to face with the Christian God, I'm just gonna be like, do you have a Bible by chance? Just like, I just kind of want to go through some passages with you. Just like what the fuck was this passage about? Just like and bone cancer in children. What's going on there? I just like. And who knows? Maybe it's all a part of his good, perfect plan, and it is like the best possible outcome that we could have, or whatever. Even though nothing's impossible for God, so he could probably do something better than this. And in the Book of Revelations, he sets up a perfect kingdom where people have free will and are still able to live in paradise. So he can do things better, and apparently will do things better. It just decided not to. Whatever. But that's the questions. That's the questions. I would have questions. I would have a lot of questions that would need a lot of good answers before I bowed. This watered down version. So what is your Steelman version of it? Steelman version of it. I think it's more or less your version. This way you should bet on God because you gain everything if you're right and lose everything if you're wrong. More or less. So if you ever die, is that an opinion? But yes, I'm sure God will have answers for you. If you ever die, is that an option? I choose not to die. All right, I choose not to die. So I always picture, whenever I think Pascal's wager, I think of a little graph with 4 boxes. So I have like a million things of paper around me. Let me give you an illustration. Let's see. Is God? No, God. Believe. Not believe. So I always look at it kind of like this illustration. So, is there a God? If there's a God and you believe in that God, and following, people usually when they're pitching this say believe. I think the following is also implied, because you can believe in a God without following him, unless they're just assuming like if you believed in him you would have to follow him because he's amazing. But if there is a God and you believe in that God, you get to go to heaven and it's great. If you don't believe in God, and if there is a God and you don't believe in God, then you go to hell, and that's not great. If there's no God and you believe, it's whatever. Some people might argue that you've still lived your life in the best way that you possibly could because they think Christianity is the best way to live your life. I disagree, but that's just me. Or if there's no God and you don't believe, it's whatever. So ultimately, when you're looking at these boxes, the best bets, arguably, from that argument, not my argument, is to believe. Because in those boxes, that's going to be your best chance of getting something great. Because if you believe and there is a God, you get to go to heaven. If you believe and there's not a God, you get to live a good life. If you don't believe and there's a God, you go to hell. If you don't believe and there's a God, and there's not a God, then it's kind of whatever. That's kind of, I think I explained it terribly. But that's where I view Pascal's wager. That's what pops into my head. The Abrahamic God is, at minimum, is lying about one of the trees of his known attributes. Is knowing, jeez. The Abrahamic God, at the minimum, is lying about one of the 3 of his known attributes. All good, all knowing, all powerful. Cannot all have all 3. If he's lying about one, then necessarily he's not all good. But he could also be flawed in other regards, like his power and knowledge. Maybe. I don't think lying necessarily is like an evil trait. It depends. You can still be good and a liar. It depends on, excuse me, I got a lot of gas bubbles. It depends on context, like if the Nazis come knocking and you have Jews hiding in your attic, it would be a very good thing for you to lie to those Nazis and say that you don't have the Jews hiding in your attic. And that would make you a good person. I really like the idea. I played with this theory briefly when I was still a Christian, and I still like it. But obviously I don't really know how much I would believe it, if that makes any sense. The idea of God actually being flawed. God created man in his image, and man is flawed. Yes, it's because of the whole fruit thing. But it makes a little bit more sense, and it gains a little bit more understanding and, what's what I'm looking for? A little bit more leniency from me about some of this stuff. Because if you look at the Bible from the stance of a God who is not perfect, who makes mistakes, who is flawed, who's just a being like us, just with God powers, you can see all the different ways that he could have just fucked up. And you could view Jesus, coming as his way of trying to fix things, still fucked things up, and then him just, apparently now playing hide and seek champion, not interacting with the world anymore, assuming all the events and the stuff in the Bible and stuff are true. Him now playing hide and seek champion, maybe that's him trying to be like, all right, every time I touch this shit, it breaks. So maybe I should just let them go do their thing. So the I guess you could call it a hypothesis maybe of an imperfect God makes a lot more sense to me looking at the Bible and looking at the world. It was like a being who's trying, but he's not perfect. That's still evil, sending people to hell because they don't want to worship you. Very narcissistic, and definitely not all good. I agree. My theory is that every religion where the God is humble and good and doesn't require worship slowly lost their members because they became uninterested and it became instinct. And there's probably not as much strict, fear and manipulation to keep them in line. This is similar to the grabby aliens theory, which proposes that aliens with a drive for conquest will end up conquering the universe first and preventing humble species from evolving. Maybe. This seems to be what's happening right now. The Abrahamic God, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, the most evolutionary adapted and spread is the most evolutionary adapted to spread the faith. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think your argument that being a Christian doesn't actually bring a person to be a better person is accurate. But people tend to view faith as morality. People definitely tend to tie the two together. Because in the Bible, we're taught that that's a part of it. To be a good and righteous person requires belief. So it would make sense if we had a lot of Christians, who in their bucket of what is moral and morality, you find faith, having faith in God, following God. It makes sense. But it misses the point. Being a Christian is about having hope in life, which is the point of the wager, to live in hope. I don't think that's the purpose of the wager, but it can be a good way to twist it, to twist it into a better light. But I don't think that was the purpose of the wager. It's definitely just hedging your bets. This message is held for review. Why do I feel like it doesn't need to be held for review? No. Being a Christian necessarily involves faith, not hope. If you're going through the motions, you are, by definition, not a Christian. I think that's true. I think that's part of it. RM, I think it grabbed your message and then just pushed it through, which is great because your message didn't need to be grabbed. The wager is more about avoiding the fear of divine retribution just because you don't know what is or isn't true. It's fear-based. Agree to disagree on that. I think you're wrong. Hey, I'm alright with that. Fallacies is not long, but hard to read. Look over it and see if I am wrong. Okay? Is that where the wager comes from? I should know this, but I don't. Teach me. Educate me. Yes, Pascal's Fallacies. Okay. He also introduces Dilbert. I guess I would have known that if I studied. Apparently it all revolves around Dilbert. Apparently I need to look up this Dilbert guy and do more about it. Do more inquiring and stuff. But no, I do rock with the idea of, what if God is just imperfect? What if he's like us? I'll show that one. I can understand why YouTube grabbed that one. Drew has to stay excited for the 3-day weekend. I don't have a 3-day weekend because life doesn't work that way. But yeah, anyone having that 3-day weekend, let's go. Hope everyone enjoys. just look like one of us. Maybe. You're so cute. Well, thank you. This might be really fucked up. Whenever I hear that song, like, what if God was one of us? My immediate thought is, this might be fucked up of me. But there might actually be also more to discuss about it. What if God was one of us? Well, according to the Bible, we killed him last time. So, that was, it's like, we kind of answered that question, for better or for worse. So it's just like, the whole song is like, what if God was one of us? She's like, yeah, we fucking killed him. Like, take that as you will. I think there's a lot that we can unpack from that. So, yeah. Isn't your view just that of Greek gods? Flawed. What do you mean? What do you mean? Is your view just that of Greek gods? Flawed. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, like that. Well, my view of like, what if we killed him last time? We did. We straight up did. So like the view of like God being imperfect, like, it isn't my like view. Obviously, I don't even believe he's a God. I don't even believe that God exists. And if I did, I don't know if I would go with that idea. But yeah, no, it can be compared to the Greek gods, flawed, making mistakes, more human-esque. I think that'd be a good comparison. Yeah. Greeks saw problems on Earth and attributed it to flawed, fallen gods. Yeah, I think that could be a good way of looking at it. Obviously, there's a million different ideas of gods, of things that we can pass around or bat around, ideas we can bat around of like, why do bad things happen if there's a good God and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, part of me kind of hopes that there's just a good God that I can ask one day about it. And that, the world is in the hands of a good God, and somehow, even though it's terrible, everything's all right and under control and good. I don't really see how, but like I said, God would have those answers. Christians see a perfect God and blame the flaws in Earth on people. Yeah. Fallen nature, Adam and Eve, Satan and his demons, all that good stuff. It's like my favorite thing to do was just...
She's so cute.
My favorite thing to do was my cat Snickers is just to meow at her and have her meow back.
You should show the people. Her right now. Big kitty.
Kitten. And I especially love, sometimes I won't do like a full meow, I'll do like a little like chirp meow, just like, and she'll chirp meow back at me. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. Not my favorite thing in the entire world, but it's my favorite thing to do with Snickers. She's probably looking at her sister through the door, honestly.
Oh, probably.
Smokey's probably on the other side.
I'm impressed with some of these puzzles, man.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no. There are different ideas of gods to discuss, to dive into, and to look at. Different gods throughout different cultures, societies, religions, whatever else. And I like learning about like any and all of them. And just learning as much as I can. And hopefully, personally, hopefully there's something out there good taking care of things, and there's an afterlife and some spiritual whatnot, but I don't know. But yeah, Pascal's wager is not about betting on God or not, it is about betting on hope. Last thought of the evening. Okay. We'll it either is or it isn't. I definitely think that how it's used today, but I've never read the source material, so maybe I should look at the source material. But definitely how it's used today is the bet hedging. I'm sure you'll be in heaven and have a chance to chat with God. I hope so. According to a lot of Christian teachings, I'm not doing great on the requirements to get to heaven. Being LGBTQ plus, openly speaking against God, saying that the God of the Bible is a monster. All that. I'm not really getting any brownie points, probably. But hopefully, an all-loving God would be an all-understanding God. And it'll work out, or it won't, and I'll burn in hell forever, because that God's a dick, and in which case I wouldn't want to be in heaven with him. Yes, you are correct about how it is used today. That's my problem with the presentation of Pascal's wager. I got you. I'll have to read the source material. I am nearing the end of the stream. It's been a kind of a nice, chill, calmer stream. We didn't get people flooding in, but we got a lot of our regulars in and just kind of sat and chatted. And I kind of like that, not gonna lie. Not to say I don't like, when chat's really going and I'm getting just 30 viewers and 20 likes or, whatever else have you. Yeah. You gotta go. Venmo, we'll see you. Thank you for stopping by. Sometimes it's nice to slow down a little bit. Pascal's wager is used as a Hail Mary when theists run out of reasons they can give for an atheist to believe. Maybe. Definitely part of it. I mean, it really is just kind of like one of those Hail Marys, one of those thought stoppers, kind of like the God sticker. And it's like, oh, God did it. God did it. It's like, don't worry about it. We're like, well, you can't prove that he's not real. But, what if? Because that what if is a huge reason. What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? Thought terminating cliches. Thank you. The everlasting thought stoppers, as I like to call them, just because it's fun. Everlasting thought stoppers. Stuff to avoid. We can do better than that. Christians and theists can do better than that. And they're arguing, I was going to throw this on our tummy. Christians, theists can do better than that. And they should. And that's why, even if I was secretly a Christian, which of course I'm not, but maybe I am, I'd probably still be sitting here doing the exact same thing, just to help try to sharpen theist skills to do better. Because, let's be honest, theists need to do better. A little bit in their argument game, in their evangelizing game. You can do a little bit better. Though arguably this doesn't quite fit the description of a thought-stopping cliche, it would be more like a, well, that's how the cookie crumbles. I pray for you. Yeah, maybe.
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
That's the way the cookie crumbles. For sure. With that, I do think I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. A little bit shorter tonight, but like I said, it was a little bit of a calmer one. So thank you everyone for stopping by. I know there's only 4 of you right now, but still, thank you for being here. I'm a random nobody on YouTube. Nobody, I don't really deserve anyone's time of day. Nobody should feel obligated to give me their time of day. But the fact that there's anyone who doesn't just scroll past, the fact that there are people who stay and view and like and comment or whatever is cool. So thank you all so much for being here. Always great to have a chat. Have a good night, Drew. Have a good night, Doom. So thank you so much for being here. I usually go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night. Now is my new schedule from about 9 to 9:30. I'll start somewhere in that range. Usually go for an hour. PM Central Standard Time, 9 or 9:30 ish p.m. Central Standard Time is when the stream starts. Goes about an hour. And I hope to see more of you there. So thank you all so much for watching. Have a good rest of your night, day, whenever you're watching this. Bye.